Everyone.
Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Welcome, everyone. As you all know, I am Laura. I'm the owner of ODAA, or I'm ODA, and we help small businesses handle those behind-the-scenes tasks and work that needs to get taken care of, and learn to delegate out that work so that you're not being driven crazy in your business, but still embracing it and loving it. So,
I
quick,
like one of the things that you said was it allows you to focus on your superpower in your business. And I think that is so true.
yeah,
Yeah, that I
love
really
it.
love that.
Mhm.
And I'm Angelique. Laura and I really do really similar things. My company is called Lady Powerhouse Solutions, and we take a heart-centered approach to offering project and event management to women entrepreneurs who are on fire out there, lighting up the world with their passion and drive. And we help them achieve their missions in the most authentic way possible.
Absolutely. So that
I
makes us
wanted to keep
together.
going, but I
Well,
stopped myself.
I'm so usually I'm used to that. But so that together today, that makes us Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. And our mission here is to empower women in business as well as in life to live authentically and support each other instead of in that competition with each other. To model this authenticity through our personal relationships, our business relationships, and empower other women to do the same, to really be vulnerable and real about that. Non-compete. Let's come together, be women, support each other, and run this business world.
Right, an abundance mindset, right? Not a scarcity mindset, but knowing, understanding, really grasping that reality that there's more than enough to go around for everyone. So we're here trying to normalize the challenges and share the lessons that we have learned as entrepreneurs, and bring other female entrepreneurs into the podcast to do the same, with the common goal of lifting other women up and normalizing what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other and building up our confidence and sharing our gifts and passions and fulfilling our life's calling. So we're here, and our mission is to build, maintain, and grow this sisterhood that believes in the abundant mindset, sharing our challenges and helping each other rise to our highest potential. And we have an awesome guest today. By the way, this is our last live episode of the year.
It is. And
It
it's
just kind of
exciting. It's a
snuck up
little
on us.
sad. I was like, oh, but it's exciting.
It
So
is.
we have a great, perfect guest for this week. Mary Cravets is an award-winning client generation expert and international speaker who helps people grow their business without working nights and weekends. I need you. She heard all the she's heard all the confusing and conflicting advice out there. So she isn't surprised that most business owners struggle to establish a sustainable business. But she's here to change that using her methods. There we go. Using her methods, the majority of Mary's clients quickly increase their income 50% or more. Clients range from the majority
You
from
can
the
do it,
former
Laura.
CFO of Microsoft North America to coaches in their first years of business to thought leaders in a variety of service professions. Mary is also a huge fan of roller coasters, obsessed with offers, and proud mom to her cat, Inigo Montoya.
Inigo
Inigo
Montoya.
Montoya. My name is Inigo Montoya.
Inigo
You
Montoya.
killed my father. Prepare
How
to
did I
die.
know that was?
Laura's like, what's happening here?
So we talked about this last week
We
when
did.
our guest, I'm gonna botch her name, Aussie, right?
Aussie.
Wasn't that
Yeah, it was
Aussie?
Aussie.
So she did your intro because we have the current
Ah,
guest introduced. And when she did the Inigo Montoya thing, like, we both went on a rant about it. You don't remember that, Laura? We're
I
both really tired.
I mean, I remember then, like, it was bad, but I didn't, like, catch it because, again, we were tired. So later I had to go back and be like, okay. Every so often, like, you miss the joke and you're like, okay, I got it, and then didn't get it. Yeah, that was that
Yeah,
moment for me
yeah.
last week.
Well, for those who don't know, haven't a clue what we're talking about, and we've lost you completely, you've moved on to something else. We're sorry. It's from the movie The Princess
The
Bride.
Princess
We get
Bride.
it.
Yep.
Awesome movie.
Yep.
I love that you're a cat person.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few cats bomb the podcast. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
The cats will, you know how they do. They get in front of the camera and show you their butt and
Wave the tail.
wave the tail. Or
We had
they'll
one
meow at you.
completely join in like a full conversation from behind and from the background. So
One of our first podcasts actually was with Melissa St. Clair, and wasn't her cat outside the door like hollering to get in?
yes,
that was a good one. That was a good one. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
We went on a rabbit hole, but hey, we're back. We're back.
I'm glad to be here. Rabbit hole or no?
So one of the things that we've talked a lot about on this podcast, in fact, our very first guest wrote a book on it, was burnout. And so we've talked about all kinds of different aspects of burnout. Last week we talked about, or the week before we talked about content creation burnout. Real.
So real.
But I don't think we've ever really talked about and focused on the process, right? The journey, getting through it, surviving, getting through on the other side. And then sorry, there's a fly. And talking about what lessons were learned going through it. And so that's kind of like one of the things that you listed as a topic. And I was like, yes, let's do that. So tell us your story.
All right. Well, I actually share this story a lot. So, and I do find that that sharing it connects me with people very quickly. I think whether you've gone through an official diagnosis of burnout or you've just really worn yourself out, it's very, very relatable. I think women in particular, we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Yeah. More is better. I can do it. No, I don't need help. All of those things.
The asking for help thing, that's huge.
Yes, that is huge. And in your business, just knowing how to delegate, because once you ask for help, then it's like, how do I even do that? So there's so many layers to it that I know you help people through. So, but my story is I started my business. I was very excited because I don't know if you know this, but you know what my business was before this business? I had a virtual assistance company.
Oh, I did not remember that.
I don't know. I don't share that a lot because it's like going into the Wayback Machine a little too much. But yeah, I had a virtual assistance business, and this is another moment was I was working for people and I was like, oh, you're telling me to do your newsletter. And have you ever thought about doing it this way? And I was thinking through the strategy of it. And they're like, no, you just do it this way. I'm like, okay, they're the business owner. They must know. And 3 months later, I'm looking for a new client because, it's not doing whatever they want it to do. And this happened over and over and over where people, I would offer advice. I would think, I'm just offering this. Who am I? I don't know this stuff. And I was doing that for 2 years until finally one day I was like, you know what? I got visibility to a skill set that I thought everyone had, that they don't, and that they need. And I could not keep hiding. And it was scary because I'm like, I'm a virtual assistant. No, I'm a business coach. And that was like,
it feels huge. It feels like a huge.
Who do you think you are? And all those things. So anyway, I went from, this was November 10th, 2010. So I'm coming right up on my 13th anniversary of my business. So I jump into this business. I'm terrified. I'm thrilled. I'm all the things. I'm all at once. And I'm excited because I stepped into a role where I was really embodying my values of impact and freedom and variety. Gave me all the things. And but I was undercharging. I was overworking more. Worry's going to help. Just all of it. So I'm about 2 years in, and the first thing that I think that occurred to me as you were introducing me that I haven't really talked about before actually is that it took me a long time to realize I was experiencing burnout. I'd been so accustomed to running on empty, and that's just the gear you stay in. And it took me a long time to have someone say, Mary, you are physically depleted. You have adrenal fatigue. Your body is taxed. And until that moment, and even afterwards, it took me a little while to give myself permission to slow down. And when I took all the suggestions, stopped caffeine, stopped sugar. Now, believe me, I don't do that today, but I did all these things to like rebuild. When I did all those things and then felt what my normal energy level was, my baseline was, I was on my couch. I was sideways. I was binge watching America's Top Model. I mean, it was not pretty. And I was like, oh my God, this is a real thing. So I was able to, and the problem was that my business was doing well enough to pay the bills.
Yes.
If it wasn't producing anything, it'd be like, oh, well, there we go. But it was paying the bills, and I had to figure out, what do I do?
Yeah.
Do I just shut the doors, or do I take my 4 to 6 hours of energy a week and like get really smart about them? And a question popped into my mind, and it saved my business. And it was, what's working? What's working? Because I had been chasing down everything, like every avenue. Sometimes, you'll never know who might show up at that networking event. I should go to it. You never know who might show up here or there. I should go to it. And what's working? And so I looked at my business, and it's an exercise I did for myself, just kind of out of the blue. And I've done it in front of hundreds of audiences for thousands of people now. And the light bulb goes on all the time. And I looked at, where are my clients coming from? What do I think I need to be doing? What do I think I need to be doing? And where are my clients actually coming from is the thing I look at. And I found that it came from just a small handful of activities. And I'm doing all these things. I'm like, I do not even need to be doing all these things. So I reclaimed a lot of my energy. And just from that one question, I was able to, as my health recovered over the coming months, my business started to grow because I just narrowed my focus only on what's working.
Makes sense.
And then over time, I started looking at, okay, what's working? That was in lead generation. So now, how do I zero in on the what's working of ideal client? How do I zero in on the what's working for messaging, pricing, sales conversation? It's like, how do you get super specific? Because when you are a solo or small business owner, you don't have time to be sloppy about your messaging, about these fundamentals of bringing in clients. And what developed out of all of it was this amazing system I teach around the world. I mean, it's astonishing to me that this is something that took off, because it started from, a place of just abject desperation practically. But the idea of being incredibly intentional so that your efforts go further faster, that's where it ended up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
I love it.
So that was the big story. And in the last couple of years, I also had someone say, Mary, you went through another burnout. And I was like, no. I was ill and didn't know it. But it occurs to me that, again, like I dismissed for the better part of a year this gradual lowering of the energy, and I didn't realize what was happening. And I had something fundamentally, physically wrong that I needed to take care of, but I didn't know about it because I was just like push through. And so I think, like, for anyone listening who's getting tired, at some point you got to ask yourself, is it something physical? Because honestly, if it's not something physical, I'm going to push through everything. But if I say, oh no, I am ill, I had a parasite, it turns out that's not that uncommon, which at first it freaked me out. But somehow by like saying this is a physical problem, I was able to take it seriously.
That makes sense.
So can you talk a little bit more about the adrenal fatigue?
So I've come to I came to my diagnosis in a very, I guess, non-traditional way. I went to doctors and they were like, "Oh, we don't know what's going on." So I went to my acupuncturist and she did a hair analysis, mineral analysis, and that just tells you what your body's like doing and giving off and absorbing. And I don't understand beside what I don't understand the whole thing, but I know that I didn't take medications for it. It was supplementation and acupuncture. And I'm not super big woo woo or anything, or like really all about like, you have to do alternative medicine. I just know for me, this both that time and also where I had the parasite, nobody else could diagnose it until I went to a different acupuncturist because I'd moved. Again, an acupuncturist was the one who was able to get me back on track. And so now that's pretty much resolved. So the adrenal fatigue, like I don't really know from a medical standpoint that much about it. Mm-hmm. I just know that the path I went down both identified it and resolved it.
Nice. Awesome. I have been told by my chiropractor that I have adrenal fatigue, and she didn't do a hair analysis. It's like she looks into your soul. I am not even kidding. But and I think that it's far more common than than we realize. And you know I am guilty even still, even after the past year. I've really focused more on my health and well-being and making it a priority and scheduling my work and my day around my health instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
And even with that, I still find myself falling into the old ruts, the old habits of pushing through, forcing, and just more of the thinking than the actual doing. I catch myself. I go, no, I'm going to rest instead of pushing through. I'm going to go take a nap and reset. I'm going to take a break from technology because I'm on a computer all day, and I come home and I get on the computer again. Or, you know, I go somewhere and I'm on my phone, or, you know, whatever. We're all on these devices. You need a break from the technology too.
I swear, sometimes I feel, I walk out of my office and like, I feel like I'm being poisoned by my screen. I just like I need to step away now.
Yeah. Sure. And it is. It's you know, we talk about screen time all the time, but that's what it is, especially, you know, when you're new into this, and I'm doing family time and I would sit, my computer's with me, you know, and that would be like, it became the involvement, the fourth person in the house, you know. So it's like, and it's just as bad as our phones. And, you know, you think about that and it's like, no, I don't put the computer away either. I've got work to do. But when it's not your phone, it's your computer, it's productive, right? So I'm not on social media playing around. I'm working. That matters, right? It's supposed. That's what's supposed to happen.
Right. We qualify it. We try to justify it, not qualify it, justify it. And you know, I'm really mobile. I have a lot of apps on my phone. I do a lot of work from my phone. I can do just about anything on this computer on my phone.
Yep.
And at first that felt like really like freedom, right? Like I don't need to drag the laptop around.
Things change, right?
Yes. Okay, so next, you have a really cool perspective on passion. That's a little different.
Yeah.
But what we're interested in is, how did you get to that belief, that perspective? What was it? Was there an aha moment, an experience, or a series of unfortunate events or fortunate events?
Yeah.
Well, or all of the above.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of all of that. So so my perspective on passion is that tying your vocation, the way you earn money, to your passion is it's a lot of pressure. And it's a privileged thing to be able to do it, which there's nothing wrong with it, but just understand that not everyone gets to do that. And that passion, the pursuit of passion, when you are working with the parameters of I need to earn money, it can just get so twisted up. And I see people all the time. They're like, well, I don't know what my passion is, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to, I don't know, take another class. And what I know is that, so my first experience with this was I was in a direct sales company, which I absolutely love. I still love the brand. And it was led by this amazing woman, totally a hero of mine. And the whole thing was, what's your passion? Because what's your why? Because if your why isn't big enough, you're not going to stick with this. Now, let me clarify that I was in the top 10 sales nationally every month. I was one of their trainers. I mean, I was achieving at all levels. And in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? This just seems like a fun way to make money. And they've got good values, and they tell me that's not enough and I have to have a bigger why. So in the back of my mind, I was always worried about failing because they kept telling me I was going to fail because my passion and my why were not good enough, big enough, and so on. So that was my first experience with it. And when I finally left that company, I was just like, screw passion. I was just like, this just messed me up.
Huh.
Yeah. So that was my first experience with it, my kind of distasteful experience. And it was, and let me be clear, it was entirely my interpretation of what was going on. They were spot on with all the things they were doing. I mean, maybe some of their messaging could have been better, but whatever. But then I read a book many, many, many years later called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And Carl, somebody, I may remember his name. So Good They Can't Ignore You. And he talked, actually, hold on. I'm going to grab it because it's got a great subtitle.
And I'm putting it in the show notes. So Good They Can't Ignore.
Okay. Or maybe I'm not going to find it. It was, it's So Good They Can't Ignore You, Why Skill Trumps Passion in the Pursuit of Meaningful Work. Something like that. Okay. So I was like, okay, intrigued, like must read. And it talks about how a lot of times we become passionate about the things we take the time to become skilled at.
Repeat that one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah. We become passionate about the things that we invest the time to become skilled at. So you might like music, and you might think the guitar is cool, but I promise you, as you are learning the A chord and your fingers are feeling like they're going to bleed, you may not yet feel passionate about it. But when you've invested that 10,000 hours and now you're good at it and you vibe with it and you all that, now it's like
calluses on those fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now you get passionate about it because you can now infuse your expression of who you are into it. And I just so resonated with that because I work primarily with coaches, life coaches, health coaches, executive coaches, business coaches, even, who are like, well, I want to enjoy everything. When you get good at it, you will enjoy it. When you stink at it, nobody enjoys sucking at things. What do you want? There's a trade-off. You got to put in the reps. In order to get good at it, you have to get good at it in order to enjoy it. So
very good.
That's my little story, a little different.
Yeah. And I'm, I've been part of almost every direct sales marketing company out there. Okay. Sometimes multiple times. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't work the first time. Well, that's because I didn't work hard enough. Let's try again.
Yeah, you strike me as a slacker. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Mary. You're welcome. But so I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Because I remember it's very similar messaging in almost every company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, and there's one more thing actually to layer into this is that I, what I realized my passion really is my family. Like I want to be with them. I want to make choices to accommodate them. I want to make them my priority. I want to travel for them. And that is my passion. And so my vocation, I enjoy. I am good at it. It brings my skills to bear. It's in alignment with my values. It allows me to fund, have the freedom. I mean, because I'm location, I have location freedom with my business too. All of that was built very intentionally because my passion is that family, that freedom that is my family. And so I finally was able to embrace my own understanding of passion. My passion is not helping people make money. That's not a passion. To me, a passion is too deep for that. I have a side passion of making sure that whatever I'm doing is about impact in the world. Like since I was, no years old, I wanted to save the world. And so this is my little way of doing it in the world, is helping change makers make a living so they can keep making change. That's my thing. But it's still not my passion. And I have wrestled with that. I hired a coach this year and I was like, I feel really bad. And I feel like you're going to tell me I'm wrong, but I'm supposed to create this big vision. And if I won the lotto tomorrow, I'd be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yes, because you have a constraint of you have to make money, and that's okay. You can have a vision and a impact within constraints. And I was like, oh, thank you. Okay, I don't feel like such a jackass anymore.
Well, I think you've just set a lot of people free from the jackassery because I think you just made up a new word.
Well, thank you. And the truth is that, if I reflect back, so the company the direct sales company was The Body Shop. Love them. Founder, Anita Roddick, stupendous woman, passed away many years ago, but I did get to meet her. And one of the things she emphasized, and I come back to, is, the privilege of being able to earn money and provide for ourselves is not something that everyone enjoys. Not every village, not every culture allows women to create their own prosperity. And so even if your drive is to make money because you believe in providing for your family, the fact that we get to do that, guess what? It's good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's good enough of a reason.
Mm-hmm. And that's such a good point, because depending on where you are in this world and what gender you are, unfortunately, it does put constraints and limitations on you.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a day where that's not true, but and maybe one day that will happen, but I don't think it'll be in my lifetime,
Yeah.
A few more out.
A few more, just a few more.
Yeah, a few more.
A couple beyond my lifetime. Well, Mary, one of the things, I'm going to throw a little something at you because we got just a couple extra minutes.
Yeah.
One of the things I do like to ask is if there was one piece of advice or one thing you would tell your younger self, or that you would give to an aspiring female entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
One piece of advice or lesson learned that you feel would be really beneficial to somebody who's just starting out, maybe not young, but just new to having that freedom and making those choices for themselves.
So I have like all the things running through my head, things like plan your day the night before, like
make your bed,
like the basics of some of the things you don't. But I think there's two things, especially. So I'm going to focus on service-based business because that's where my expertise is. Number one, your number one job is to get clients. If you haven't figured out how to do that yet, Number two, invest in someone to teach you, because it doesn't matter how beautiful your accounting is. If you have nothing to account for except for expenses, it's not going to work for you. You have to understand how to bring in business. This is the biggest gap between the corporate world and academia, and then to entrepreneurship. It's like people, you don't even have the mental framework to understand that that is your number one job. You don't have, I mean, the sooner you can embrace the fact that you don't have that skill set and go get it, like without judgment. This is without judgment. I mean,
Right.
my first entrepreneurial venture, real estate. I thought that I was going to sit in the office and people were going to come in and buy houses like they buy hamburgers at McDonald's. I mean, that's how green I was. So when I say no judgment, I mean it, because I sat in that chair. Okay.
Right.
Your number one job is client generation, and waiting to figure out how, or to hide behind your computer, or to keep getting free stuff. You have to hire someone. You have to invest in someone. And I think this is the first time I've ever said this, because I am over worrying about looking like I'm self-promoting. I am not. I believe in what I do, and I know it is right. And I know some people are going to love me for it. Some people are going to hate me for it. And
Right.
I've been around long enough to know that's what you get when you put a stake in the ground, plant your flag. But your number one job is getting clients. And don't feel bad if you don't know how to do that, because it's not taught in business school, not even at Harvard. It's not taught in your corporate job, even if you have a marketing background. It is not taught. So go get yourself some skills.
Awesome. I love that.
Absolutely.
Laura, she has an awesome freebie that will
yeah.
help people with that, right?
Absolutely. So Mary has a great quiz right now on her homepage, and we will leave the link in the show notes so that you can go right to it. But it's a great tool to cut through the noise and focus your marketing and lead generation efforts quickly. So she has that up, and we'll make sure you have the link to that in the show notes. And definitely, especially when it's a quiz. I love the freebies that come with quizzes, because you
People
always
love
get all this
quizzes. What's up with
information.
that?
Yeah.
I mean, remember back in the day when there were magazines and we would open that
yeah.
magazine
Yes.
and do the quiz?
Of course,
Where's
you
the
turn
quiz
right
this
to
week?
it. I can. I'm not going to think
That
of the
we're
one
dating
time.
ourselves.
Right.
We're talking about like quizzes
Right.
and magazines.
And I love doing the quiz, because I really, like, I hired someone to help me with my quiz because I wanted to just be strategic. And she was brilliant and lovely. And she's like, it's got to be fun. It's got to be this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's got to be super freaking helpful, or I'm not going to do it. Because if it spits out, you're a unicorn, I'm like, oh no, my people are not going to go for that. It's like, what do I do? What do I need to look for? What do I start with? And so, yeah, there's some very specific advice, and I try not to make it overwhelming, because my problem is I have a decade worth of experience, and I would like to give it all to you in the next 5 minutes. And I have to remember,
Fire hose them.
yes, more is better. You see, there's that theme again.
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm
Mhm.
a very detail oriented person, and I do tend to give too much information instead of just enough.
Yeah.
Which is
give
all
a
they
little
really
bit, and then is that what you need, or do you need more? Okay, here's a little more. Have you caught up? Okay, now here's a little bit more. And I love it, because just in the past year, I've realized that I had, like, in the work I'm doing, and I don't know if this is helpful to other business owners, but I had like only big offerings. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do some courses. And so now I have much more like bite size, like, oh, I just want to work on messaging, or I just want to work on this. And I've got some bites so people can start to kind of spot treat some things in the business. Now I am
Well, that's new. That's new.
Yeah.
I did not know that. You hooked me there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm intrigued.
And the course catalog is under development, so we don't have that entirely built out. But if you take the quiz, at the end of the report page, you can get your hands on one of those courses for like $25 or something. And they're like $200 courses. So there's a really sweet offer at the end.
Oh, there's an incentive to go take that quiz if you're not a quiz person and can't wait to get to it.
Yeah.
Like, No, seriously, you would not believe how many times we've talked about the offer from our podcast guest, and I go, Laura, I go
Mhm.
right out, don't I? I go
Yeah.
right out immediately after the podcast, and I'll either sign up for, the free call or
Mhm.
take the quiz, or because, or I might even do it beforehand. But like as soon as I see
Yeah.
it come through,
She
Yeah.
does. I'm
just
the
say,
same way where it's like, especially when you're giving your time and this is your expertise and it's really showing that and it can benefit us and help,
yeah,
then we're definitely interested,
yeah,
and
And
go.
what's really great is it also sorts out people who are like, well, I don't like the fact that you're like, okay, so here's one of my ways that I weed people out. Are we okay on time? I just want to make sure I'm not going to, okay. So, okay, 3 minutes. Okay. So, one of the things I know, and I love talking about ideal clients because they set the stage for you. They are your person. You create everything around them. My people, they want structure, but they don't want to feel completely boxed in by it. Okay. So that's a tough one. So everything I do has to show that I am giving boundaries. And so when I have someone get on a call with me and they want to talk about possibly working together, there are questions. And I'm like, you understand we're going to talk about you investing in yourself. I want to know the timeline because if it's over 90 days, that's fine, but I got to know. And it's like, and I put these boundaries together, and people who don't like that, they don't even get on my calendar. And the people who crave to like level up their boundaries and their standards, they're like, oh, this is what I want. And it's such a wild thing to think of. This business mechanism actually helps attract or
I
repel.
love that.
Yeah. So
I
I
love
don't know
that.
quite where that came from, other than like having part of not burning out is having standards and
Yeah.
communicating them clearly.
Yeah.
So
And boundaries.
boundaries. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
And a lot of our job, and I don't know if you experienced this when you were doing the virtual assistant work, is managing client expectations.
Up front, I had a
Yeah.
contract and I had, here's my response time. They didn't just have to sign it, they had to initial every
Oh,
single.
just like an attorney, all legal and everything.
I don't know if it was legal or not, but I was going to make sure that like I got their acknowledgement on every single thing. If here's my response time, here's our communication channels. I mean, all of the things. Here's my turnaround time. Here's when it's going to be a premium. Here,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Communication.
Love it.
All right. Well, normally we would have the current guest introduce next week's guest, but
What?
we're not live
Who's
next
going to be in
week.
January? It'll be a surprise.
Yes, it will be a surprise.
It
Although
is.
we do already have January's booked. January's booked. We're booking into February, but we are looking for guests. So if you're interested, go to ftcppodcast.com and check us out. See if we vibe with you. If so, great. Hit us up. We're always looking for guests. But so we're going to be on break for the remainder of the year. We're going to take the holidays. We're going to recoup. We've been going live for a week, every week for a year now. But we'll be putting together some of our most popular and favorite episodes each week, creating some highlight and blooper reels to share, just like we did last year. And keep an eye on our social media channels. And we'd also love to include you with everything that we're doing. So if you'd like to be included in our community and stay in the loop, see, I'm checking my notes, Mary. Be sure that you get included. Okay. And we do send out a weekly newsletter with sneak peeks for the guests that are coming up, and a monthly recap of all the wonderful offers and freebies and just value that our podcast guests bring to us and our community. So, Mary, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for
It's been
inviting me.
wonderful. It's been wonderful. All right, guys, we won't see you next week live. That's what we normally say at the end. I almost said it again.
But we will see you after the holidays, and we're around, so we're not going far. So you can still reach us. We definitely don't be shy around here. So cool. come and see us while we're gone, and then we will be back with some changes and exciting stuff in January,
In the new
everyone.
year. Have a wonderful holiday, everyone. We'll be sending out lots of updates, but we'll see you on YouTube.
All right.
Thanks again, Mary.
You're welcome. Bye.
Everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.